So let's begin. Here are some examples of some polyploids, ornamental flower for example, and you can see already that the tetraploid is much bigger than the diploid, and is actually a main trait that is looked for in polyploids by breeders. The same applies here to grape. You can have a diploid versus a tetraploid, and also watermelon. Diploid is a bit bigger than triploid. And another trait that is important here and that is seek for is production of seeds. You have production of seeds in the diploid, but you don't have seeds in the triploid. And we will understand why later. In case you have questions and comments are not enough on scalable learning, please feel free to send me an email. So the course will be divided in big items. Each item will have a different video, and at the end of each video you will have a quiz to summarize the main concept and to test whether they are clear or not to you. So let's begin. So what is polyploidy first? Polyploidy is a possession of 3 or more complete copies of the nuclear chromosome set. So poly could make you think that from 2 it's already poly, which means several, but it's actually not the case. So let's take here example with a scheme. Let's say you have a species, you have 3 different chromosomes. Then the haploid means that you're gonna have an N, and N represents actually the number of chromosomes after meiosis, so in the gametes, and X is a set of chromosomes. So here N equals X, of course, because you have only one set, and as you know, after meiosis you divide the set of chromosomes by 2. And of course, if you have only one, you can't divide it. So it's N equals X equals 3. If we take the diploid case, it's basically the same. So what you have here is before meiosis, you have 2N, because after meiosis you will have N, because it's divided by 2. And 2X is then the total number of chromosome sets, which is also 2, because you have a diploid species here. And equal to total of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? So this is not... We don't talk about polyploid there, but from the triploid state, then that's where we start to talk about polyploids. So in the triploid case, again, 2N means the number of chromosomes before meiosis, divided by 2 gives you N, and N is the number at meiosis, now you got it. And X, again, is the total number of chromosome sets. Here is 3 because it's a triploid, so 3 times 3 equals 9. Tetraploid same, 2N before meiosis. 4X is total number of chromosome sets, so 1, 2, 3, 4 times 3 equals 12. Something important, why I mention it again and again, is like N is often mixed with X. Basically, a species will always be 2N, and the reason is simple, is because meiosis divides the number of chromosome sets by 2. So if N is the number of chromosomes after meiosis, this would mean that it will always be 2N before meiosis. Can't have something else. So it would be wrong to write a tetraploid, for example, 4N. It's not 4N, it's 4X, which is the total number of chromosome set in this species. Okay? So, this is just, I talked about it already. And something quite striking is what you have represented here, which is a tree of life. Not complete, but at least with plants and some animals and fungi. We only talk about eukaryotes here. The red dots you have are actually an event of polyploidization, so going from the state of diploid to polyploid. You probably notice that the red points, so the polyploidization events, are much more frequent in plants than they are in animals. You find some few in salmons, for example, so few polyploids, and also in frog, but the rest is devoid of it. So nothing in invertebrate, for example, and nothing in mammals. Well, again, it's very frequent in plants. And one reason for that is basically that polyploid in animals is often lethal. So if you try to make a polyploid of mammals, for example, or birds, this is not gonna work because the individual is gonna die. While plants are actually much more resistant to it and actually usually are very fine being polyploids, which is a specific trait of plants. And another point is, okay, to be resistant to it is one thing, but it still doesn't explain why it's so widespread all along. And that could suggest that actually this might confer an advantage to be polyploid, both in case of wild species like here, but also in case of cultivated in terms of crops. And we will explore this question all along this course. But before, here are the first quiz. So the first question, I ask you to define what is polyploidy. Then I will ask you to write down the formula to say, okay, you have a species which has 8 different chromosomes. What if this species is diploid? Can you write the formula using n, x, and numbers? The same, but this time this species is tetraploid, and finally, let's say this species is now triploid. So write down the formulas for all of this. Good luck.